Something a bit different now. It's the return of everybody's favourite pun-based quiz, the Time Space Visualiser.
Yeah.
By everybody's, I mean mine, and mine alone. But today, instead of doing like a normal, standard kind of quiz that we did last time, where I absolutely wiped the floor with you, I have prepared something a bit different to test specifically you.
Oh, God.
Because we all know how terrible you are when it comes to quizzes.
I don't like tests. No, I don't test well.
So, for this week, Tom has to try and guess. This is an idea I've shamelessly ripped off other people as well, and I'm not going to pretend that I haven't. But you're going to have to guess different episodes based on the 1-star reviews they've got.
Okay. I'm slightly scared now.
For this, I'm going to give you snippets of a 1-star review that I've either found on IMDb or the time scales. These... I'm not going to read all, obviously some of them are a bit wordy, so they're not all going to be read out in their entirety. It's more just the funny things, and you've got to try and guess which episode they're on about. Anything obvious, like, you know, the sort of the title of the episode, for example, I'll just change and refer to as this episode or the previous episode, because otherwise it's a bit too obvious. But more sort of vague things I'm going to keep in there. Okay, so your first review, right, is a 1-star review posted on IMDb, and...
What era of Doctor Who?
It's all new series as well.
Oh, okay.
It's all revival era. It's 2000. It won't get anything before Rose basically, and it goes right the way up to Power of the Doctor.
Good, okay, I'm a bit more confident about this now. If it's all really bad, I'm just going to say the whole Chibnall era. Is that cover me? Sorry, I know we've done enough Chibnall bashing on this page.
There's a review. It's titled "Bad Logic, Bad Script."
Chibnall.
Slow down. Disbelief is not so much suspended as hung, drawn and quartered. We don't need to have a you can't change history rule imposed in a series which by its very nature insists that you can change history. The Doctor changes events by no other means than he displaced some of the air that otherwise wouldn't be displaced whenever he travels. So why don't the monsters that destroy the worlds whenever the time stream changes hunt him down? For that matter, why do the monsters have to delete the world, a time change in itself? No. The logic is just bad in this one. So this is someone that's getting angry that, you know, it's obviously about changing time, and they're not happy that, you know, time isn't changed when the Doctor just displaces some air, which is quite sad. You can ask for a clue. I'll give you one clue, Pooh. Okay, it's RTD1 era.
Okay, so that's everything up to
the end of the 10th Doctor.
End of the 10th. I'm tempted to go with Shakespeare Code with this one if it's about changing time, because it's the only real time you mention it. But then I said I was tempted. I'm not giving out the final one.
Well, we haven't got all day, so.
What bad stories? Period.
I'm gonna need an answer. 5, 4, 3.
No, Shakespeare Code. I'm going with that.
That was a strong.
Yeah.
The answer was Father's Day.
Oh.
Someone rated Father's Day 1 out of 10, which...
So that's why I didn't... Yeah,
you've got to remember these are 1 out of 10 reviews, so you've got to...
Yeah, it's not a 1 out of 10 episode.
I know.
Get your reviews right.
This is the man that's always like, oh, these are just our opinions. This is a 1 out of 10 again, and the review is simply just titled, Awful. Cheap and unimaginative plot full of holes. What happened to Doctor Who? Over the years, the stories got progressively worse, or maybe most of the money's been funneled from script to special effects. On this season, only the episode was okay-ish, ruined by a stupid ending. Is there any other writer out there that wants to keep the protagonist in character, respect the lore, and write consistent plots based on anything else other than cheap feelings? It's a bit sad that Capaldi got served such a bad stories. The few good seeds shown he was perfect for the role. In any event, avoid.
So it's Capaldi era. It's Capaldi's time.
Yes. It's a bit vague, this one. I think I'm just now reading that again. I've realised it's actually quite vague.
I want to say Series 8. It's either Series 8 or 9, because Series 10 was brilliant. It's probably his best work as Doctor Who.
Yes.
So this is about, like, is this a review of the series as a whole, or?
It's a review of the Christmas special that came after this series.
Oh, so the final episode tied in. Oh, it's Twice Upon a Time then. No.
Is that your final answer?
No, because that was a good one. Last Christmas?
No. It was The Husbands of River Song.
Ah!
which came after the dreadful Series 9, and the episode there that they said only this season, only the episode Heaven Sent was okay-ish, ruined by a stupid ending. Which is an interesting take. I've not seen that before.
I thought it was a nice ending with him getting his screwdriver.
No, Heaven Sent is in the one where he's on his own.
Oh,
that had a
right,
stupid
yeah.
ending, apparently.
But that was a brilliant
Hey,
ending.
look, I'm just reading the reviews, man. I didn't write them. Okay, so the next one is titled 1 out of 10. Truly god-awful. So another happy, satisfied customer. This is possibly my favourite review of the whole thing. Again, I'm going to omit some of it because it's very plot-specific stuff, which will give it away. But I think the plot of this episode really is, no, I'm sure it is the product of drinking and drugs. Drinking and other drugs. Yes,
that's it. 55.
That's the only way it could possibly have got past the review process. No story, awful acting, more Clara, in brackets, please kill her, please kill her. It will help the series come back to its health. One day the series may find a comeback and aspire to the standard of, say, Black Mirror like it did in the 70s, but for now, it's a write-off. So that was written by some incel that wasn't happy with Clara.
That's anything from 7 to 10.
Yeah, see, I'm giving you a range.
Oh, no, because she got irritating after 7B. She should have gone after 7D.
Yeah, well, you've got to think of an episode that is like reminds you of a product of drinking and drugs with awful acting and...
Orphan 55, but Clara weren't in that. Is it a Robin Hood episode?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
It was in the Forest of the Night.
I weren't far off. There was a forest in Robin Hood.
Logic. Well,
I forgot that one even existed, to be honest.
yeah, I mean, I agree with the 1 out of 10 rating. Whether I would, beg for death on Clara and call it a product of drinking and drugs,
Yeah, no, I forgot that episode was actually made.
Yeah. I mean, it is terrible. I'll completely agree there. It is one of the worst.
It's a forgetful episode.
Yeah, and then you remember it, and then you remember how dreadful it was. But...
Yeah, and then you forget again. It's like the silence. It is the silence of Doctor Who episodes. You watch it, you turn away from it, you forget it's there. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Are you ready for your next one?
No, so I've done terribly so far.
This is quite a hard quiz, to be fair.
It's difficult when there's absolutely no reference whatsoever.
Yeah, I'll try and make it a bit easier for you now. Okay. Okay. So this review was I haven't got the title for this one. It was just a 1 out of 10. Another episode that I haven't seen since it first aired for good reason. I honestly think this is utter drivel. I'm not even sure where it all goes wrong.
Chibnall.
The writer of this episode wrote one of the strongest episodes of the previous series, and then to suddenly come around and have this, it just seems off. As much as I like this writer, as a writer, I don't think he really understands the Cybermen. New Who hasn't had the best record with them anyway, but here their new designs and functionality just make them look bland and eye-rollingly batty. I don't think the slick design is too bad, but the new super quick movement using the Matrix bullet time is something that feels rather ridiculous for these creatures.
Nightmare in Silver.
Can I finish, please?
Sorry.
Overall, this is a mess of ideas, none of which are allowed to come out and shine, and no one is well written or well performed, and honestly might be one of the worst episodes of New Who for me. There's no punctuation in that. One of the episodes that if a non-Who fan saw me watching, I would be embarrassed.
Nightmare in Silver.
Spot on.
Yeah, it was that bullet, Matrix movement, which was stupid.
Yeah, there's a reason it's been never done again. There's a lot of obviously issues with that behind the scenes, because obviously there's, Neil Gaiman didn't really write the majority of it. It ended up being heavily rewritten after one of the guest actors left a script in a taxi or something.
Yeah.
And Moffat got his grubby little protuberances on it and turned it into that. But
yeah,
I don't for a second think that The Doctor's Wife and The Nightmare in Silver have the same writer.
No.
Because I thought Neil Gaiman's Cybermen, that's going to be proper. And I'd love him to do the Target novels of his 2 episodes. I know he hasn't got any time to do that, but maybe one day he'll get around to doing the Doctor, because there's obviously a lot changed in The Doctor's Wife as well for budget reasons, and I'd just love to see his original vision for it more than anything.
Yeah, I'd love to see the original vision for Nightmare in Silver, because I'm sorry, but what we got was subpar. As a Cyberman story, it was abysmal. I think the only nice thing was the refreshing look on the Cybermen. I did like the look.
Yeah, I don't mind the actual design of them.
moving.
I think the function of them is where they messed up. I like the look of them. I think there could have been a bit more detail on the helmet, but the actual body and everything, I never had a problem with.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the functionality of it more than anything for me that.
I do love the new Cybermen look though, the current one, because you got that mix of that.
The sort of invasion style.
Yeah, helmet with the
not too fussed on the
modern
spikes. The spikes can be sort of got rid, but that's just a
that's a
minor.
nitpick.
Well, are you ready for your next So this one is titled "The Spock's Brain of Doctor Who," in a reference to the god-awful episode of Star Trek. Okay, this is great. As a long-time fan of the classic programme, I have mostly enjoyed the new series, accepting the darker tone of the Doctor's character as a result of some truly horrible off-screen experiences. However, nothing makes a fan feel cheated like having your main character out as outrageously out of character as the Doctor does in this episode. There are some particularly good moments, but the whole story starts to fall apart as soon as the villain appears. From that point, the comedy becomes forced and unusually rude, while the tragedy is not given the full explanation that it needs to expand on. I admire Russell T Davies for how hard he has worked to make the new incarnation of Doctor Who happen, but his writing continues to leave a great deal to be desired. I think it's no coincidence that the best episodes, in brackets it says here, The Empty Child School Reunion, have been written by others.
So
just a side note, this was also the first episode of Doctor Who that truly frightened my son. He didn't like the monster of this episode one bit.
I'm hoping it's a Dalek story. That nod's reassuring, thank you.
It's not.
It's not, okay. Idiot's Lantern?
Oh, no. It was Love and Monsters.
Nah! I went for the only other bad episode from that era.
Love and Monsters isn't even bad, and I'll fight anybody that says it is. I love it.
Damn.
But yeah, they didn't. The Absorbal Off apparently truly frightened this reviewer's
I found it
son.
funny.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
I do get
PJ girl.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they meant by some of the humour being a bit rude and everything. So.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Oh, grow up.
You're not doing too well on this stupidly hard quiz I've designed.
Evil.
Well,
Evil
I say
man.
I've ripped off other people.
Yeah.
But it could. Who knows? You still, so far you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're halfway through. You've got a grand total of
1.
0.
No, I've got 1.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Don't take my only point away from me.
1 out of 5, right? But that could be increased now with these coming questions. Your next one is titled Doctor Who, the soap opera. That would have been a fitting subtitle to this episode. How is Robots of Sherwood rated lower than this dribble? This isn't even worth 1 out of 10. I would struggle to give it past 3 out of 10, which is weird because they've reviewed it as 1 out of 10. The only half-decent parts are the Doctor being like the Doctor from Season 1, in this case not knowing about human relationships. The better part being the Doctor riling up Danny Pink. The rest of the show is just hopeless. Oh, and because it's Doctor Who, they chucked an Earth-destroying robot in for a minute or two there.
It's the Caretaker.
It is indeed.
Yeah, that was...
Another forgettable one, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really go much on the Caretaker, to be fair. There's some good bits in it, I like there are tiny bits of humour that do work. The rest of it is just pretty, it's just like, it just feels like a soap opera, and there's annoying kids in it, and a really... It
feels like Waterloo Road with a bit more adult time.
Yeah, but I thought that the design of that robot thing they have is terrible.
Oh, it was probably one of the worst.
I think it was intended to be terrible, but...
Yeah, I think it was intended to be there just to be there and be a bit of filler.
Yeah.
Like, it was the subplot.
Oh, yeah.
Big time, so... And your monsters should be your main focus in the story, and when they're not, the public, the viewers do feel that.
Okay, so the next one is a bit vague, but it just makes me laugh. It's called Really, Chris Chibnall? 1 out of 10.
Orphan 55.
No. Was this a finale or just plain filler? I can't believe what I just watched. It's full of plot holes that don't make any sense and terrible dialogue. I'm calling for it. Impeach Chris Chibnall. # impeach Chris Chibnall.
It's just the Chibnall era. It's not a specific episode. It is the entire bloody era. He did this all the time. He brought up so many plot points, tied a couple of them off, so in hoping you'd forget the rest of them. And no one forgot the rest of them because he tied up the least important ones. And he did this so often. Oh.
Do you want? I tell you what, I'll give. There's another review on here of the same episode that's also 1 out of 10 that I can give you if you want.
Yeah, because that's very vague, because that is an entire era.
As predicted in my review of the first episode of the series, the man in charge and head writer brought back his utterly lame villain from that episode. Chris Chibnall was in charge of a biscuit manufacturer. They would all be rich tea or a dry cracker, bland and boring. The title sounds like a sort of tripe a spotty youth would scribble in his homework book. Amateurish daydreaming fantasy. He probably drew his monster beside it and coloured it in blue biro. Yeah. Another satisfied customer.
Is it The End of Flux? I forget the name of the episode. Oh. Damn.
No, it's about him bringing back his original villain from the first episode. It's the Battle of Ranskorav Kolos.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called.
Sure.
I don't know if you heard this little anecdote that I saw on Twitter the other day, but basically when they were filming The Power of the Doctor, William Russell, being 97 and living with dementia, he was struggling quite a lot with the lines. So they ended up cutting it down to just that one line that he has. And he, at one point, I think he'd spilt his tea and was really apologetic and kept apologising, and he was getting quite stressed being there. So as he turns, in the episode to Dan and says, "Sorry, did you mean here?" In order to do that, John Bishop actually got on his sort of all fours behind him, fed him his line a couple of times for him to get it as they said action. But then William Russell accidentally ended up imitating John Bishop's Scouse accent, which I think is just the best story that I've heard in ages. And it's just such a lovely gesture from John Bishop as well, though, to sort of get down on all fours behind to feed
really an
elderly actor his lines like that. So
no, he's a solid bloke.
This is another one that's 1 out of 10 again. All I have to say about this is, WTF was that? I literally have been watching this whole season having a difficulty understanding what's going on. Barring episode 2, this is another absolutely terrible series by Chibnall. Kate Stewart had 8 lines, what a waste. This literally felt like stuff happens, other stuff happens, then the universe is gone. I cannot wait for RTD's return, because then this whole era, barring 3 stories, has been awful. P.S. Yay, Daleks again on New Year's Day. I'm so excited to see them.
So this is Flux era. No, this is the Flux. I worked that out. Kate Bishop having only started Kate Bishop.
Kate Stewart,
sorry. I'm thinking John Bishop as well. I don't know why. Well, I know why, but is this the one where they end up, whether it starts with them in the mine? With Kate Stewart? Or has Kate Stewart in the mine and she's literally only there for a couple passing seconds, and then you next see her in Power of the Doctor?
Is this your final answer?
I can't remember the name of the episode. I can't for the life of me, because it got great up to the village of the end.
It's the finale of Flux. It's the last episode, so you are right, but I can only give you half a point for that because you couldn't give it a title.
No, hang on.
No, you couldn't.
Oh, yeah, fine.
It's the Vanquishers.
Vanquishers, yes.
Yeah, so the episode that you just thought the last review was. Another terrible Chibnall finale, basically.
Yeah, and then you had Eve of the Daleks, where, again, Dan was the best thing. Daleks do not store stuff. No, go home with your Gatling gun and learn to aim, you stupid tricycle.
This one is another 1 out of 10. If there's one word to describe this episode, it would be obnoxious. It features Smith at his most annoying, supported by some awful child actors and a complete waste of several guest cast. Everyone is consistently stupid and underdeveloped, and it makes it just an unbearable watch. On top of that, the pacing is too quick for an incredibly basic plotline, yet the episode feels excruciatingly slow. The villains are all completely non-factors in the plot, with these things seemingly happening at random because the plot demands it. Top that off with some very overt misogyny. What else could your Christmas need?
Smith, children, and a load of monsters that have nothing to do with the story. I am very much tempted to say Time of the Doctor.
Well, you'd be wrong.
I was just... Oh.
It was the Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Oh. Oh my god! Again, these are all episodes you easily forget about. Yeah, so that's what makes this quiz difficult. Is because the episodes in question, for the most part, are very forgettable episodes. So your mind won't go to them. Father's Day being the exception in this one, because that is such a good episode, and I will fight anyone who disagrees with me. But
these are all episodes that people are going to frequently rate 1 out of 10. You've got to go proper bottom of the barrel for this. And I've tried to make sure I've got one from every New Who Doctor as well.
Yeah.
So,
that's annoyed me, that one.
So after 9 questions, your score is 2.5 out of 10. Can he make it 3.5? We'll be lucky if you can get 3. This is great. So this one is 1 out of 10. The review is titled "The Most Insulting Non-Event Ever."
Right.
This episode concludes all the period Moffat took over. Yes, all 5, 6 and 7 are actually one ginormous season about the TARDIS blowing up, and this episode tells us how it exploded. It exploded due to some random dude's short range beam on the TARDIS, which for some reason had its shields down. I just got to point out now that this reviewer has absolutely no idea what they're talking about in terms of the plot of this episode.
It's Big Bang. If it's about if this is one where the TARDIS blows up, or how the TARDIS blows up, it's Big Bang, isn't it?
But this is what I mean. This is like possibly the worst review I've seen.
Okay, well at least I got 3.5. Let's go.
Yeah, you didn't get big. It's not Big Bang.
Ah!
So
Pandora opens it.
no.
No.
Essentially, this reviewer is trying to insinuate that the big reason the TARDIS is blown up, even though we find out later on after this episode was revealed in this episode, they're trying to be clever basically because they're not. It's an entire 1-star review out of the fact that the TARDIS was damaged by ordinary laser fire when the Doctor makes a point of the shields being down because he's teaching Clara to fly it. Its journey to the centre of the TARDIS. I've been awful to you today.
You have. I've had such a good day. I had a lot of good news earlier, and this is how
he's passed his GCSEs. Well, that was fun for me. I do feel awful because that was quite a hard quiz.
Yeah, no, that was rough.
I would have struggled with some of those, to be fair, because there are some very vague points, but overall, there are some very true points made in there. Especially when it comes to things with like plot lines and stuff. Yeah. I don't think I'd have rated Love and Monsters as low as that person did, or Father's Day.
No, definitely not Father's Day. Love and Monsters, I'd put about 3 or 4. You think it's better?
I would say it's a strong 6 or 7. I don't think it's the best episode ever. Don't get me wrong, and there are some glaring issues with it.
It's definitely among the worst of that series, though. Because the rest of that series was solid. Fear Her is probably the only thing that's worse. I'd give that 1 out of 10.
Fear Her is terrible.
Yeah.
Fear Her is dreadful. It's the 10th Doctor is most annoying, I think.
He's not even in it for half the blooming thing.
Yeah, and he's still
the best
really
part is you're stealing a Council X from a council van and digging up a council road.
My favourite part of it was the end credits, to be honest. But yeah, maybe we could do a review of Love and Monsters next week then, and really sort of bash this out properly.
Yeah, I think that would be ideal. Yeah,
well, we'll do that then next week. Join us for a lovely review of
Love and Monsters.
Yeah, and I've already got the thumbnail in mind.
I'm gonna kill you.
See you next week.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I have a feeling I'm gonna get put in the face of an absorber off.